Hello and welcome to episode 13 of No There's Only Trash Here podcast. The date today is the 2nd of June 2013 and we're back. We are back for, I'm actually uploading a podcast this week because of course I had the week break, and joining me once again it's the always, wonderful Mr. McLuckable.
Oh, please.
You're
too kind.
Well, yes, I am. I'm wonderful as well. But yeah, so I want to apologise for the inconsistency with the schedule and all that kind of stuff. Anyone who subscribed to my normal channel knows that I like consistency with uploads and things like that, so it does bug me when I can't offer content on a regular basis, but it was only 1 week, so I'm, what are you going to do, really?
I'm ashamed of you, really.
Oh, man.
1 week. How dare you go on a holiday?
I owe it to YouTube and my fans to never slip up, really, and even once, it's just
too many.
My subscriber count, it just shot straight down. Just bombed. I think, yeah, that's the weird thing with subscriber counts, though. You like to think that a subscriber count is based on how good your videos are and how often you upload them, but how often you upload your videos really has no effect on your subscribers. I just took a week and I gained subscribers during that week when I came back. There was no effect, no backlash. Maybe that's just because I'm not popular, but there was very little backlash, none. So, whatever. What are you going to do? I guess people don't prioritise that as a big feature when it comes to their YouTubers.
No, you get it when you get it, basically.
Yeah, I mean...
That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, people like Proton John, not going to slag him off, but I think he is famous for inconsistent uploads, and he's, very popular. People love the guy, but again, I'm not going to slag him off, but yeah.
No.
Because I actually do like the way Chugga Conroy uploads his videos, where he just doesn't make any for like a month or two, and then he just makes one every single day until he finishes the Let's Play. I think that's a pretty good model, but I don't think it's one I could personally stick to, but it's a good idea anyway.
Yeah, I kind of, I'm also a bit like what's his name?
Proton John.
I never watched him, but by the sounds of it, I mean, I don't have a schedule either. It's just when I have the time. And I don't think that matters too much, but unless it's like a stupidly long time, it's like you can't go a couple of weeks. That's too long. People just lose hope.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters, but I think it's a different ball game when it comes to Let's Plays. That's, because you are, sometimes you're busy and that's fine, sometimes you're just not around, but a Let's Play, once you have the setup, the experience and like the know-how, it's literally just picking up a controller and hitting record on everything for 20 minutes. So when someone doesn't upload for like a month, I don't think there's any kind of excuse for it at that point. Not with Let's Plays anyway.
Yeah.
Again, not slagging anyone off.
The time to prepare should really be done before you even start, so there shouldn't really be a gap. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, that's why, I like the Chugga Conroy model, even if I don't watch all his videos, but... Oh, well, it seems like every podcast... I could do, it's a good idea. But it seems like every podcast we always start off with Let's Plays. I'm trying to keep it separate from my channel, but I always talk about my channel at the start of every podcast. I think it's something that probably I need to cut back on.
No, that's fine. I think this could be, podcast could be, it could have, because we are Let's Plays, both of us, we have some insight.
Yeah, this is
a niche. Yeah, this is a little niche market here. Other Let's Players may be like, those guys know their stuff, and then come and watch us and listen to us.
So by rambling on about this tangent, we're actually getting respect and admiration rather than people being annoyed and just saying, come on, get on with the actual show.
Alright, maybe we should get on with it.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. The only reason I do, by the way, is because when I make my Let's Plays, I never talk about outside kind of stuff, really. So, the podcast is a good opportunity if there's something that's kind of like to do with my channel that's frustrated me or, just my thoughts on that. Then it's like, hey, it's a good time to get it out, I would say.
Yeah.
Right, so the reason why I also am happy that it's 5 minutes in is because not much happened in the week I was away. I go away for a whole week out of the country, and it's just like, nah, nothing happened. Just nothing. I didn't miss out on anything. So let's hit gaming news and talk about the one news thing that happened.
Gaming news.
Right, so it actually just looped. And that's kind of
I
embarrassing.
thought that was on for quite a long time.
Yeah, it just looped for 6 seconds, so this really is the non-professional episode today, but how are we going to do? So, the only bit of news is Sonic Lost World, which we already discussed in another podcast, or the last one, actually the one before that, but they actually released an official trailer and gave some details. Pretty much, it's the same game on the Wii U and the 3DS. It's coming out late this year, and it looks pretty interesting. I mean, Joe, did you see the trailer at all?
Yeah, I did see that. I watched it because we mentioned it in the podcast before, so I was like,
Good
okay,
man.
let's see if our predictions were correct, and I think they were.
They
quite
pretty
a
much
lot.
were, yeah. So, in case you haven't seen it, you probably should if you're a Sonic fan. But, yeah, it's kind of an odd approach, because this is the next game after Generations, and Generations it had like the linear levels, but it was like expanded with alternate routes. And it seems like this has gone way towards Super Mario Galaxy, as in, like, it's odd watching that trailer and things like that, because it seems like they want to make the purest 3D version of the 2D games. If you watch the trailer, everything looks like it's from Green Hill Zone or Emerald Hill Zone. And it seems like, I don't know why 3D gaming has gone back to this kind of philosophy, but it's like, because with Super Mario 64, it was about expanding it, and then 3D gaming was like, let's create a living world that you can believe and get sucked into. But with Super Mario Galaxy and now Sonic Lost World, they're going back the other way, where they're trying to keep it as stripped down as the 2D games were. So, I mean, I'm excited for it, but I think it's kind of odd that 3D gaming has gone in that direction.
I think we need something like a Mario GTA.
Right.
Or like just go like you say, go all out 3D. Let's have like Toad hookers.
Yes,
and-
of course. Toadette.
No, no, but I do understand what you mean. Like, it seems to be like to try and get new mechanics and just anything different to how it was before. They try these new techniques of making things more 2D. Well, not 2D, but 2.5D, we'll say.
It's kind of, it's like, did you play Super Mario Sunshine?
No, but I watched Chaka Conroy's Let's Play, actually.
All right. Well, you know the secret levels where you lose the flood and just have to platform normally.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the inspiration for a lot of kind of these 3D games now, or main series games, where it's like, hey, let's just have a stripped down version of 3D where we won't pretend it's not a video game where you're trying to be in a big open world. Instead, we'll just go for the whole, you're playing a video game and trying to get through levels.
Yeah, maybe it's just easier for them to do.
I think so, but I think I don't know, I want to say it's kind of lazy, because people are like, we like the 2D ones, we don't like the 3D ones, so by saying, we'll just make them like the 2D ones when it comes to Sonic, it's kind of a bit lazy and a bit, they should do their own thing. And that's why I'm really in a way I'm disappointed by Sonic Lost World, because Sonic Colors did that perfectly. It was a perfect mix of 3D and 2D. It was new, but it kept to the old traditions. It was well made. The story worked. So it seems weird that with this Sonic Lost World, they proved that they could combine the new and old with Sonic Colors and also Sonic Generations. So it's kind of disappointing that they're now taking a step back with Sonic Lost World.
How well did the two do?
Well, sales-wise?
Yeah.
They sold well.
Oh.
I don't think they sold amazingly well. They didn't light the world on fire, but they both got over 1 million copies each, so they weren't... Well, they were successes, even if they weren't runaway hits. I think with Sonic games nowadays, you're not going to have, a runaway hit anymore.
That's odd then.
Yeah, so it seems like they were, Generations and Colors reviewed well. sold well. The fans liked them. I liked them. And then with Sonic Lost Worlds, they're just like, let's just go back a bit. But that doesn't mean it's going to be bad. In fact, it reminded me of Sonic X-treme, which is this weird kind of game that never got released for the Saturn, which was like this, where everything was circular, and it was kind of trying to be purist with its interpretation of the 2D Sonic games into 3D. So I'm interested in it in that form, but then again, I can't get that excited for it because it doesn't look like anything new.
It did look a lot like Galaxy, didn't it?
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing. Galaxy was really good, but...
No, but it's like... Why bother?
Yeah, pretty much. But, it's still going to be good. I think it's still going to be a good game. Although with Sonic Team, if it's a good game or not comes down to, do they bother to make it properly and actually take the time so there's not bugs in it and so there's not a load of stupid stuff in it. And, with the last two games, it seems like that was the case. They were actually well-made games. So I think with this one, it's going to be good. And especially on the 3DS, this is the first Sonic 3DS game or handheld game that's fully 3D. Because Sonic Colors was completely in 2D, and that was on the DS. And then Sonic Generations was you controlled it in 2D, but the backgrounds were in 3D. So this first one, Sonic Lost World on the 3DS, I don't know if it's going to be exactly the same as the Wii U version, but it is going to be in 3D. So I think that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can get, I don't know if it's worth getting both versions or not, but if you just want the 3DS version, because a lot of people have a 3DS, then, it's cool that, it's pretty cool that the 3DS is becoming a viable kind of more legit console nowadays.
I was reading about all the consoles, after the Xbox One and everything like that, and a very high amount of people was saying about how the 3DS is the one to go for. It's not a proper console, but it has the best games coming out. Yeah, and it just has the best little market share. It
really is a case with the 3DS, I feel, is that it just stuck in there, and it's the Nintendo philosophy of just, we'll release some games over time, and so, maybe you don't want it now, like with the Wii U, it's like, maybe you don't want to rush out and get it now, but in 2 years' time, it's going to have an amazing library. And now it seems like the 3DS has now hit that point where it's like, hey, if you look back on all the games that has been released in the last 2 years, there's a lot there that you can play, and there's a lot more coming out, even if it's mostly just Nintendo games. And also the 3DS is pretty cheap, so that that always helps.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to spend a lot of money on a handheld console,
No.
Not anymore. Which we discussed a few weeks ago, so...
Mm-hmm.
Already covered that, but...
Go back there if you want to listen to that.
Yeah, whatever episode that was.
Yeah, go look for it yourself.
There's only like 12 of them. You'll find it. It's fine.
It's near the end somewhere.
Somewhere in there. But yeah, so that's the end of gaming news. That's it. That's literally it. Just Sonic Lost World. Of course, they're just saving it for E3, I would guess. It's E3 is next week, so that's gonna be a major week. But the week before E3, not so much. I think that's the way they like to go. So instead, the first thing we're going to cover is because a couple of weeks ago, I did my podcast by myself about the Xbox One. But unfortunately, Joe, you weren't able to make that, and we weren't able to make it work. So now that I have you here, what's your thoughts on the Xbox One?
Okay, I've thought long and hard about this.
Good.
I haven't really.
Oh.
Well, all right. It's maybe a slightly better position to do it now because it's after all the hype has now died down a little bit.
Yes.
But all right, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I actually think it looks quite good.
Oh, you're going against the popular opinion.
I am because, well, for numerous reasons. Okay, let's start with people didn't like the look of the box.
No.
I don't care. I think you said the same, didn't you?
Yeah, I said I want a character, or I want a console with personality, and this is literally just a box.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, all right. So you actually don't like it?
No.
Okay.
Well, if we're talking about just the look, I don't like the look.
All right. With the look, I couldn't really care less about it.
That's fair enough.
So that doesn't bother me at all. It does look a bit like a Skybox, though. I will say that.
That horrible little disc drive. It's just yeah.
What were the other bits? Oh, obviously the main bit about what everyone was moaning was, it's all about TV.
Yes.
watch your TV and do this on TV. Now, I haven't used my Xbox for many things apart from gaming. All right,
Sure.
and a lot of people are saying, "Oh well, I only use my Xbox for gaming and Netflix." Like, it's always Netflix. Apparently, everyone uses, but I haven't done any of that. So this is all new to me now. I'm behind with the times, as per usual.
Oh man.
So all the kind of like Skype, I Skype quite a lot with friends and everything. So Skyping and playing games seems pretty cool to me. TV, okay. TV's the big if, because we don't know how it's going to work in other countries. Like, it's all well and good being in America, but like, is it going to transition to Sky over here, like, which is our cable? So I think that could be quite good. It's looking quite good, and I like the Kinect thing.
I think Kinect 2.0 maybe is the name for it. I'm not sure. Maybe it is a bit gimmicky, like talking to your Xbox and waving your arms about, but it's just a little bonus, I see it as. And it's good that it's coming with the console as well. Well, that's the way you got to do it. If you want people to care about this kind of, something that someone would say is gimmicky, you've got to keep it with the console. The Wii wouldn't have worked if there was a GameCube controller and you could buy it. And it's the reason why the PlayStation Move didn't work, because you have to have it with the console so people can actually try it out and developers can actually make games around it and make it work.
Yeah. And the only other thing I could think of really is if you're comparing it to the PS4, and which one are you going to get, PS4 or Xbox One? Because I got an Xbox 360. When I got that, the only reason I got it was because of the price. So when it comes down to it, the cost is going to be really a big factor in this, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the problem people have with the Xbox One. Or it's one of the problems I kind of have. It's like, no one cares about these new sort of features. So if they turn around and say, hey, there's a lot of technology behind it. It's a really advanced console. It can do so much. It can connect to your TV. It can pick you up really detailedly. And then they turn around and say, oh, it's going to be 450 quid because of how much technology there is in there. People are going to be like, well, just don't have all that useless technology and just put it down to 350. Just have a console that runs well.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it's kind of... I can't really slag it off too much. I can't really say it's that bad because I don't know what the price is. Yeah. And again, with the PS4 does look, it looks good. But if they then turn around and say, oh, it's an advanced console, that's 450 quid, then, I'm not going to buy either one at launch if that's going to be the case.
No, that is the issue for a lot of people. It's just, well, how much is it going to cost? And, crap, forgot what I was going to say. Don't worry.
Well, it's just that's the thing. Features you don't care about, it's just disappointing, But one point that I've kind of seen people make is that, Microsoft people saying, hey, yeah, sure, they didn't reveal any games or things like that, but neither did Sony with the PS4. So how come people are slagging off this Xbox One conference so much when it was pretty much exactly the same as the PS4 one? And I can kind of see where they're coming from, but I was disappointed by it because the PS4 one was in February, and then this one was in May. So with the Sony one, you can understand why they revealed as much as they revealed. But with the Xbox One, why didn't they just wait till E3 so they can reveal the console and the games at the same time? It seems a bit odd that they would have the thing a couple of weeks or 3 weeks before E3 if they're just going to show off what they showed off.
Yeah, it was a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of doesn't make any sense.
Maybe they didn't want to share the limelight. They wanted something to be all about them.
Yeah, I guess, but they also delayed that conference. That conference was meant to be in April, which would have been fine. That would have made 10 times more sense, but they delayed it until the end of May. So that's what I was kind of confused by, and it doesn't really make any sense. They had the advantage here of knowing what Sony revealed and one-upping it, but the only way they one-upped it is like, oh, you can watch your favourite American football games and do a fantasy league, I guess.
NFL,
yeah. And so I mean, I can't get excited for it because, like you said, we're not in America. So, and they've already explicitly said that it won't be launching in the UK. It's only in America these features will be available at first.
Yeah.
So, how can I care? How can I really get excited for a console where the techs match the PS4's? I think the PS4 is technically a bit better, but they're pretty much exactly the same. So that's pretty cool that the consoles are going to be the same, but I can't get excited for it because I don't know the games, and all the features they revealed were just features I don't care about or can't even use.
I just remember what I was going to say earlier now.
Sure.
A lot of people were passing judgment because of all the used games fiasco and all that stuff, but I've not taken any of that until anything official, because it's all just these stupid rumours that are being thrown about all over the place. Has anything actually been confirmed by Xbox yet?
What about used games?
Yeah, about that whole thing.
Nothing. There's been no definite word, but from what I can tell, it's I don't. Again, there's been no definite word, but pretty much the rumours at this point, or the reports that are meant to be true, is that you're going to have like a code, or there's going to be some sort of identity thing with your copy of the game. And then I think it's going to be similar to like Steam, like where you have a key or things like that. But again, nothing official.
Right.
But I mean, that's been the frustrating thing about the Xbox One, even before it was revealed in the last months, that so much rumours and speculation. Like, it was supposed to be people were talking for so long about how I'm not going to buy it because it's going to be exclusively online and I can't disconnect it ever. But that's not the case. But it was such a big deal for so long. But,
yeah.
But I mean,
when we get some answers, it'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People wanted answers, and I don't think we got all the answers we wanted, you know. When people are talking and complaining so much about your console, when you finally reveal the thing, you better address those issues. You have to address them, or people are just going to be disappointed, and that's kind of exactly what happened. Sure, they showed some new stuff, but they needed to, like, at the beginning, be like, right, you can play used games, you don't have to be online all the time, right, here's the console. That's what they should have done, rather than, here's the console, Steven Spielberg.
When I played Pong in 1978, why about all these kind of games conference things? Were they always so businessy?
Yes, I want to say so. I think these are all based off the Apple ones that the Apple, Stephen Jobs used to do with the iPhone, I think.
Because wouldn't it be amazing if I don't know, one of the companies or a new one, just like hypothetical new one, came in and just did what all gamers want. They said, right, here's the console, here's the games, here's the price. Because they throw in all these stupid words and all these stupid little diagrams and these little videos of people and all the developers and all being happy and everything like that. People don't care about that. They honestly don't care.
They're not talking to gamers, they're talking to stockholders. Yeah. People that have their shares. They're talking to them. They're talking to people who have their money in it but don't play the things or don't actually care. They just care about money. So they need to do all that kind of stuff to be like, hey, this is how it's going to work. It's going to be the family is all going to gather around and all that kind of stuff. So people can be like, okay, this is something to invest in. So, really it's kind of a sham for people. It's not for gamers. It's for people it's for businessmen.
Yeah, and then they get surprised by the reaction of gamers. Like, I think I read that somewhere that Microsoft were genuinely shocked by how people have responded to the Xbox One.
I don't get how.
It's just you should know why.
I guess it's one of those things where in a big corporation, on paper, everything they did sounded amazing. It's like, we're going to reveal all this new stuff and people are going to see the box and it's going to be awesome and people are going to be excited. But then, that it didn't address, like I already said, any concerns that people have. So, I mean, I guess that conference did show that Microsoft are a bit out of touch. And it's kind of a bit odd that, I think I said this in my podcast last week, but Sony seem to be more in touch than Microsoft are, which is a complete flip around from the last generation.
Yeah, I did like Sony's conference. That was good.
Yeah, but I mean, it was in February. If Sony did that conference, if it was the other way round, then people would dislike Sony. But then again, there weren't any outrageous rumours about Sony and the PS4, so they didn't have to address them. They just have to say, here's the PS4, it's pretty powerful, there's going to be some games, controller, and boom, they were out there.
I mean, with the PS4, you people got what they expected. It's just a better PS3.
Yes.
And that's fine. We don't need anything else. That's good. But with Xbox, everyone was always thinking, right, what are they going to do now?
Yeah, Kinect Sports free. Way. Can't wait. They haven't announced it, but fingers crossed we'll see that at E3. Can't wait for that. But I don't know, they're kind of in a weird place, Microsoft, where they're trying to capture the Wii crowd, they're trying to capture the iPad crowd, they're trying to capture every single market, and they've ended up just kind of creating this weird mess where, some people are still into it. It's not bad, but it's just a mess, I guess.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
So let's go from that into E3 predictions and things like that, because, of course, E3's coming up next week, and it's going to be, it's going to be a big one. It's the next generation, pretty much. It's what Sony is going to bring to the table when they launch. It's what Xbox is going to bring. It's what Nintendo's going to release with the Wii U to try and keep up. It's going to be a really big one. So, personally, what game or what game series do you want to see at E3, Joe? Like, if one game was revealed,
Does it have to be realistic?
No. Let's keep it not realistic, just fantasy, kind of like, wow, that would be awesome.
I would like to see, okay, imagine this, dark room.
Sure.
Silence, just there. And then this beam of light shoots down.
Right.
Okay. And up from the floor rises this kind of little pedestal. And on top, it's just this copy of a game.
Right.
Music starts. Dramatic music, very quietly. Right? But you still can't see the game. Then, the curtains reveal back to a whole crew of people, like 100 people there.
Okay.
And above them is a big sign that says,
Just Us 5.
No.
Free Radical. Okay.
And they say, we're back. Right?
Nice.
And it's all the people. They come back. And, Crytek UK have just buggered off. Don't need them anymore. And then they pick up the game. They kind of rise it in their hand like a victory. And it's Time Splits 4.
Oh, well.
They've been working on it for many years.
Or what they could do is, instead of the people, an army of monkeys that they then unleash onto the crowd. And then they're like, hey, that one's dressed up as a ninja, so it's, it's fine. It's all well and good.
Yeah, you got the Halo monkey.
Yeah, they could bring that one back.
Yeah.
But I thought you were going to go with maybe like the curtains rise, the 100 people, then the lights come on, or Free Radical shows up, but then the lights come on, and it turns out all those people are stormtroopers, all in line, and then it's Battlefront 3.
It could be that as well. Yeah. You see,
Just both.
Both things.
Just some dude comes on, it's like, yeah, we got both. It's on the way.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. But yeah, Time Splitters 4 would be really cool, but that's not going to happen because we have Time Splitters Rewind, Reborn, Repurposed, whatever you want to call it, or whatever it's actually called. So yeah, I don't think we're going to see that, but I mean, Battlefront 3 that's on the table, I think.
Yeah, that one's probably more realistic.
Yeah, I think we would only see a teaser because, EA only recently took over the Star Wars game, so I think the most we could possibly hope for is a teaser that says 2014, Battlefront 3. But, that's definitely a big possibility. And that would be next gen as well. I don't want to bring up Battlefront 3 every podcast.
No,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big one, and we don't have to go through how amazing it would be on next gen, but it would be amazing.
All right, and also, I just thought another one.
Sure.
It's not a good game at all. Well, I don't think it would be a very good game, although I'd like it to be. But we've all played when Edward the guy was here last time. and we mentioned we've all played the Simpsons game.
Yes.
Okay. I would like a new Simpsons game. It's been 2000. It was 2007, I think, when that one came out.
Yep.
So that's 6 years now.
Well,
I think it would be nice.
I think it'd be really cool because with that game, it was a good game, but there was a lot of problems with it. Mostly with just how it was made. It just felt kind of a bit amateur. Like, it wasn't buggy or anything, just the level design and the power-ups, it just felt very amateur, so it got a bit repetitive. But, you know, the graphics were charming, the story was good, it was actually funny. It was, you know, been
The
funnier
writing
than
was
the
quite
show.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually got in the proper people and got it done. That's the good thing about EA. They always get in the proper people. Usually, like, the guy that writes all the James Bond games, Bruce, can't remember, like, Feinstein or whatever his name is.
Yeah. Yeah.
He actually writes the films, but he's also written the last few games. So, I mean, the last few games have been Activision, but that's not the point. The point is they get in the people. So, yeah, I would definitely like to see a new one. But I don't know why there hasn't been a new Simpsons game at all. Because, I mean, it sold well, right? It was a big hit when it came out.
Yeah, it was released on like every single different console and handheld at the time. So it must have done quite well.
I want to say it was a success, but I don't know. I haven't heard any legal stuff like, you know, the license running out for EA. I think they still have the Simpsons license, so if they want to use it, they can.
Well, I hope possibly that if they see the success of Tapped Out, and because that is just a massive game. The app for iPhones and everything.
Oh, I haven't heard of it.
Have you heard? Right, it's a horrible game. It's one of those games where you have to buy everything to do anything.
Oh, great.
Like you buy coins, and then you spend the coins to build your own Springfield.
Oh, yay.
And I actually tried it. It was awful, but it's apparently really popular, and it's made them loads of money. So maybe maybe this is a bad thing. Maybe they'll start getting ideas.
Probably, yeah. I can imagine them going down the casual route, you know. They had a big success with SimCity on Facebook, and then they released SimCity, and it's a big disaster, the actual game. So, you know, I wouldn't put it past EA to just use their licenses for just Facebook and iPhone games.
Oh.
But I want a proper game. I want Hit and Run 2, something like that.
Yeah, I hope they realise that. I think it's the Simpsons brand that brings them most of that for that Tapped Out game. It's the Simpsons brand that brings most players. So do something with the Simpsons again.
Yeah, they could easily do it, but I mean, are they going to reveal a new one? Maybe. It's one of those long shots. But if we're going to say they could release a new Simpsons game, then you might as well go into all kinds of different crazy stuff. But
Yeah.
fingers crossed, but I don't think it's going to happen. But
Nah.
the thing is, in terms of predictions, it really is quite hard to predict what they're going to show. Because with Xbox One, PS4 and Wii U, the Wii U, they've pretty much announced everything that's coming, so there might be one surprise there, maybe a surprise for the 3DS, but because of Nintendo Direct, they've always announced it, so you can't really predict that much there, apart from, they're going to show off the new Mario Kart, and, you know, that's about it, but...
Yeah.
With the Xbox One and PS4, it's completely opposite. It's really in the dark about what they could show, because the biggest brands for Microsoft are Gears of War, Halo. Well, I mean, they're kind of the two big ones. So, I mean, I don't know if we're going to see Halo 5, but that would be the way for Microsoft to come back big, right? You know, a new Halo game.
I'd assume they might tie it into the TV series.
They could do. That would make a lot of sense.
They could do that.
Because Forward Unto Dawn, which I haven't seen, was like a live-action show, and that led into Halo 4 and was massively connected and was a big hit for them.
Yeah, that's why they're doing the TV series, I think, was the popularity of that as well.
Yeah, pretty much. But so I mean, Halo 5 would be what they could do, because Gears of War Judgment didn't do well. I think people are kind of done with that franchise. But, I mean, they already said that they're making 15 new... or there's going to be 15 exclusives in the first 12 months of the Xbox One, with 8 of them being new games. So I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see all the new games, which I'm not looking forward to, because if you remember back when the 360 came out, they did a very similar thing. They didn't say we're going to do 15 games, but they did release a lot of exclusives for it, and I don't think any of them really hold up to this day or are worth kind of playing ever.
I can't even think of any.
Well, you got Cameo.
Oh yes.
You got the rare ones, pretty much. Which you got Fever Pinata. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You got Condemned, which was pretty good, but I never beat it, and it's kind of aged quite terribly. And the second one's going to be pretty terrible, so, awesome. Good franchise for them. And then there's other ones. I can't remember them all from the top of my head, but pretty much most of their exclusives. Perfect Dark Zero. Yeah?
Oh.
Maybe. Disappointing sequel to a beloved game.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, well done.
Awesome.
Mm.
So this is why I can't get that excited, because they did drop the ball when it came to exclusives on the 360, and they kind of did with the Xbox. I think they just got lucky with the Xbox, because, one of their big franchises back then was Blink's The Time Sweeper, which I'm sure wasn't terrible, but it wasn't a big hit. They got lucky with Halo, and then Fable, Lionhead made, and was originally meant to be a PC game, so they got lucky with that. So I think it's going to be a similar case where, there's going to be some big games, but most of these exclusives probably going to be pretty terrible in the end.
Yeah, although the new IPs are a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good direction, but I think they're doing that because they realise that's like, right, with Gears of War, it's kind of run its course. We can only go on with Halo for so long. We need another killer franchise for the Xbox if we're going to compete against Nintendo and Sony. So I think that's why they're going for this approach. But, I mean, it should pay off. Something good is going to come out of this, but I don't know. I don't know if I will get excited about any of the ones shown off at E3, unless there's a new Banjo-Kazooie, and then I'm straight there, so...
Oh, yes, I remember, you mentioning about that, how fickle you are.
That's it. That really is it. And I think that's it for a lot of gamers as well. There's one game that if it comes out on that console, boom, they're there. I think that's what it really does come down to. And why people do go for exclusives, or companies do target exclusives as much as they have.
Yeah.
But
it does work.
I mean, is there any kind of Microsoft exclusives you would want to see, or any companies that you're kind of, when it comes to the Xbox One, that you're excited because they're making a game for it?
Not really. No.
Awesome.
No, I mean...
Suck at Xbox One.
I've never really been a big fan of looking too much into what's going to happen and what they're going to release and stuff. So, I'm as I've said before, I'm very slow in terms of games and game consoles and stuff. So I generally just pick them up a year or half a year after they actually come out, and I'm just pleased with what I get, to be honest.
So you're just a man of pleasant surprise.
Yeah,
just like, oh, that was quite good.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Oh, and it's you just everything's either really cool and nice surprise, or everything's just like, oh,
yeah,
okay, that was crap.
Yeah, so I mean, you're going to be happy no matter what with E3.
Yeah,
then, I think
exactly.
They're going to reveal something that's going to stand out, and you're going to be like, well, that looks cool. I like the look of that.
I just want something that's okay. There's one thing I want, not a particular game or developer, but I just want a game that is really, really different.
Right, so there's no franchise that you in particular want to see continued on and revealed at E3?
No. Well, there's Saints Row 4.
Sure.
I haven't played Saints Row 3 yet, but I have been a fan of the Saints Row, so that'll be interesting, I suppose. But I realised this has got nothing to do with E3.
Okay.
Small tangent.
It's cool.
About a completely new idea. Like, I want some more experimental games.
Sure.
Okay, and what I mean by that is, do you know Mirror's Edge?
Yes.
That, although I didn't actually like the game that much, I could appreciate what it was trying to do. So, I don't know, I just, and that thing being, it was kind of an experiment.
Well, you're in luck. Mirror's Edge 2.
Mirror's Edge 2, yes.
They've semi-confirmed it.
Not so much of an experiment now, though, but yeah, I don't know, it just seems like so many games that get stuck into the old cliches. I just want something really different.
So, I mean, are there any other examples of this generation where, would you say, I don't know, Red Dead would be something like that, where it's different, but,
I like the fact, well, I suppose the Wild West wasn't a new thing to do, but they did it in the best way possible.
Yes.
So maybe if, I don't know, a new setting or a new environment or a new... Like, when Portal came out, and the whole thing with the mechanics about going through portals, that was pretty big at the time and pretty cool. Anything new in terms of game mechanics would be nice. Just or how much power they can push out of the new consoles. Like show something really mind blowing with all the new processing power they have.
So you're not interested in the first-person shooters,
No.
the RPGs, and things
No.
like that? Okay, I can kind of see that. So pretty much you're going to be looking more at the indie market or the downloadable titles, or the games that are in that kind of way, like Journey, Braid, things like that.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see an indie game like that, but with a really a big investment into it in terms of money and time and effort.
So you really are a man of pleasant surprise, because that's every indie game, really, or downloadable title. You can't predict that sort of thing. With Call of Duty, you can predict it with the big franchises, but with the indie market or the downloadable market, it really is like, oh, I've heard good things about this game, I guess I'll give it a go, it's pretty cheap, and then you're like, oh, that's really cool, and something different.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
Obviously you want to focus on those sort of games, but do you think there is going to be a large focus on that market because it's been a growing market in the last generation?
Oh. Maybe not to begin with. I don't think straight away.
Well,
I
they
think they're
did in the PS4 conference get the guy out who made
They did, didn't
The
they?
Witness, that game.
Yeah. So, See, I always imagine with things like E3, it's always just going to be, like you say, the big franchises and the first-person shooters and everything. So I don't know if they would switch their focus at all.
Well, because obviously all these kind of downloadable games are going to come and the interesting titles, but I guess the real question is, are they going to adopt to the bigger franchise model, or are they going to keep at the model that they're doing where it's just kind of sleeper hits and they just kind of they upload them or they release them when they release them. They seem to be going more the Kickstarter route. That's another option that's opened up. So I think a lot of these indie games or newer games that are kind of interesting, we've probably already seen a decent number of them. But then again, we don't know what Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo are doing, like behind closed doors, with giving those sort of developers money to make their games and make them exclusive on their consoles. So I think we're going to see some interesting titles like that, but obviously it probably won't be the focus.
No, which is fair enough. They have to play to what they know is going to sell, I guess.
Well, then here's the other question. On the other side, with Sony, is there like a PS4 game that if they announced it, you would be like, okay, I'm in with the PS4 now over the Xbox One?
No, like I mentioned earlier about why I got the Xbox 360 it was just the price. Games. You about Banjo-Kazooie?
Yeah,
That's fine. I wouldn't do that. There's no game that I'm so adamantly hyped about. I would chase it. I just think whatever comes. So I think if there were any PS4 games that grabbed me, it will be because I already had a PS4.
well, yeah, because I think with exclusives, there's one that's personal to people, but I wouldn't say there's any such thing as a bad console. Like, if I got a PS3 instead of 360 when I made that decision, again, I bought my 360 because of the price, like you did. Yeah, it was 150 quid and I got a game controller, so I was like, well, that's easy. That's an easy decision.
Yeah.
But, you're happy with your lot, I think, in the end. Like, I got my 360, I played a lot of awesome exclusives. Sure, I didn't get to play Metal Gear Solid 4 and the Killzone games look good, but you're happy with what console you have and you're happy with what exclusives come out, as long as some exclusives come out and the things. So, for me, whatever this Rare game is going to dictate my decision, but other than that, I'll be quite happy to go PS4 and Xbox One if I'm looking just at the exclusives, because there's going to be solid exclusives on either side, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future, so you just kind of got to get one and just see what you get and just be happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, the reason a lot of people would get a particular console is because, well, this is what my friends did anyways, because that's the one your friends have, especially if you're younger. Fortunately, I was one of the first people to get an Xbox 360 in my circle of friends, so I didn't have to do that. But everyone else was like, okay, then let's get an Xbox 360 as well, so then we can do all the party stuff. So I think that will... It's small things like that as well. It's like, well, what's your mate getting? Okay, well then, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, because, yeah, that's the thing. We've now broken it down to a thing where people were complaining about, there were no games, I want to know the games. But then it's like, well, do you obviously you do want to know the games. But it's a bit more complicated than that when it comes to what console you're going to get. With how expensive these ones are probably going to be. If people are going to get one, it's only one. Not many people are going to get both. So, really, I think it's just going to... For a lot of people, I think it's just going to come down to... You walk in the shop, you'd be like, that one looks alright, I guess. There's a decent bundle there. I'll just get that one. Forget about it. And that'll be it. That'll be the whole decision. Months of thinking and planning. And it'll just be like, oh, I guess I'm in Argos. I'll buy that one, I suppose. Xbox One is out of stock. I'll just get the PS4, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, the PS4 comes with an accessory kit. Let's get that one.
Oh, there's a strap for my controller. Okay, I guess. Can't get that anywhere else. That's £5 saved right there, so can't argue with that. But yeah, so I am also, speaking about Nintendo, I am really excited to see what they're going to show off. Because with Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart Wii, or Mario Kart U, I guess I should say, and then the new Super Mario for the Wii U. So I'm really excited about what they're going to show off. But yeah, in terms of predictions, I don't really have any major ones because they've been so open about it anyway. Like with the Link to the Past sequel on 3DS, so then you got Pokemon X and Y. Like if you break it down, you can already see all the games coming out this year for Nintendo, where that's not the case with the other ones. So yeah, I don't have any predictions, but I'm definitely really excited to see the new Mario Kart and to see all these franchises in HD on the Wii U. So it should be good overall this E3, I reckon.
What about... You're a fan of Halo?
Yeah, I like them.
What about Destiny with Bungie?
Well, they said they're going to show off the first gameplay, aren't they, at E3? Yep. It looks fine. I don't know. I can't get excited about it in the same way other people have. Because, again, it's a new IP. Bungie makes good games, but it just seems to be a bit... It seems like they've built up this hype, but it's this hype built up on very little, other than it's the new Bungie game. So, I mean, I'm interested to see the gameplay, but what is it? It's in first-person shooter MMO? Is it like a Halo MMO, pretty much? I mean, that's the impressions I got from it, and that sounds cool, but it's not. And also, it's coming out on, like, every console. I can get it on my 360 when it comes out, so that's not going to dictate my decision there. Because that's the interesting thing. You can get most of the games on 360 and PS3. Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed 4, Call of Duty Ghosts, Batman. There's a ton of stuff coming out on 360 and PS3, so... If people are going to upgrade at all, it's going to be a big decision, and they're going to have the big games because, I have my 360 already. It's cool that I can buy Call of Duty and have it be graphically better, but it's not essential. I'm not fussed about it. So, I mean, I think they might have shot themselves in the foot a bit by trying to keep the old generation relevant for another year.
I mean... Was there a crossover like that for the previous generation?
Well, there was, because the 360 came out a year early. And the PS2 is the most successful console of all time. So the PS2 kept going, so there was kind of a crossover. But the only game I can think about that did that crossover was Splinter Cell Double Agent. Because that game came out on the PC, the PS3, the PS2, the Xbox 360... the GameCube. I think it came out on the Wii, and then I think there was a PSP version as well. So that was the only game that kind of did it, but that was kind of odd at the time. So I think there wasn't really a crossover period as much, but the 360 didn't really do that well in the first year anyway. So I don't think it's that relevant to this generation.
It does sound really weird. Like you just said, well, I might as well get on my 360 then. Do they not think that people would do that? Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people will, but that's why price is so important. No one's going to pay... my predictions for the price in general, I think there's going to be like one that's 350 and one that's 400. And I think the PS4 and Xbox One are going to be priced similarly, and they might vary around that and all that, but I think that's going to be it. And then 350, yeah, that's like the limit of what I would pay. But if it's 450, like I already said, I don't think people are going to upgrade, especially because 360s now, 100 quid you can get that for. That's no problem. PS4 or PS3s, you can probably get 100 quid second hand. So price is going to be a big deal for this one, but or especially for me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, when it gets like you're saying 450, if you edge like creeping up and up, then you're getting towards a really quite good computer cost there. So, I mean, when that's what that seems to me. It's like, well, you could get a decent computer for that.
Well, that's what people have been saying. It's like, oh, you could get for the, you know, if they price them too high, then it's going to be like, oh, you could get a, you know, computer that has twice the capacity. Because my laptop is 8 gigs, and it was less than 500. I think it was 420. And that has 8 gigs and a lot of the same specs, quad core and things like that. And that's before these consoles even come out. Of course, you know, dedicated software or hardware, you know, can play games better than my laptop can. But in 2 years' time, if I get another laptop, that's probably going to have better specs, and it's just going to be better than the console that I paid like 450 quid for. So it just doesn't make sense. They got to keep that price down low, because you can buy laptops that are as powerful quite easily.
Yeah, which have Skype, which you can watch TV on.
You can play
which
games.
You can do everything. Yeah, so, yeah, they got to watch out for that.
So, yeah, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with the price, but yeah, they got to keep it. If there's not a model for under £400, then I think that console is going to really suffer, and it's going to be the thing that we see every time, where a year later, then they then like slash the price and then take a loss because they were stupid doing the initial thing.
Yeah.
Oh well. But also, one more thing I want to get out before we finish the E3 talk or predictions is that Fallout 4. I think they've got to announce a Fallout 4.
Oh.
Like, because Bethesda are terrible when it comes to making games. Not terrible at making games, terrible at releasing the bloody things. The last game was Skyrim, which they've been supporting quite a lot, but it's time for them to announce a new one. And they do kind of go, it was Oblivion, Fallout 3. Actually, New Vegas... When did New Vegas come out? That's before Skyrim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of too much to ask for a new Elder Scrolls, but I think we've got to see a new Fallout, which is going to be next gen. So I think we can... As another prediction, I think we're going to see Fallout 4, which we already know is being made by Obsidian, but with Bethesda's help, it's like New Vegas. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a new Fallout, and that's going to be one of the biggest games of E3, I predict.
That if that does come out, then that'll be really popular, because I know that a lot of people didn't really like New Vegas, or it just wasn't the same.
It wasn't up there.
No.
It was good, but it wasn't Fallout 3. It was just a bit not as good.
Yeah, so yeah, if they do that, then good.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see that get announced, so it's pretty cool. So any last thoughts or predictions about the upcoming E3 before we move on?
I really hope my Free Radical thing turns out to be right.
Well, I don't think it is.
Don't ruin my dreams now.
We might see Crytek UK show up rather than Free Radical, but you know, Time Splitters respawn, so pre-order that.
If that turns out good, then who knows?
I'm sure I'll be fine, but
yeah.
Anyway, so let's get on to what's coming out, recent releases or on the way. Only 2 coming out, both on the 7th of June? Yes. The first one is The Elder Scrolls Skyrim Legendary Edition. Now, I said to myself, when I sold Skyrim, I will give it another go, because I thought it was okay. Nothing great. I'll give it another go once they do the Game of the Year edition with all the DLC, and that's what this is. It's got all the content and additional stuff. But I don't want to jump back into Skyrim. I just really don't want to do it.
Why? Why though?
Because it's really boring. It's a really boring game. The combat is stiff, the saving's annoying, the graphics are average, the story's stupid, and I just can't be putting up with it. So I will not be buying the Legendary Edition.
There you go. I tried playing Skyrim as well, and same. And I always see posts about like, let's load up Skyrim again. Oh, I'm bored already.
Yeah, it's just a lot of people love it and like, I played 200 hours, and it's like, yeah, but in those 200 hours you did like nothing. You found a cup and you sold it to a guy, and then you fought a crab. That's what you did in those 200 hours.
Oh, but that crab fight was pretty good.
Well, I was like, it was an intense 2-day fight, 48-hour fight. But yeah, so that's the thing. I don't want to get into that whole thing, but because I really like. Okay, I'm going to get into it anyway. The reason why Fallout 3 works and Skyrim doesn't is because Fallout 3 had a good story and it was interesting exploring that world. Because the combat isn't the focus and the graphics aren't the focus and all that kind of stuff. The reason why the Bethesda games work is because exploration and exploring this whole big world and seeing what's there. And that's where Skyrim completely falls down, because the only thing that's there is snow. And then just some random guys and just upgraded character models from Oblivion. So with Fallout 3, it was interesting to see how the human race had survived and how the nuke had affected America and, you know, all the different ways and all the different side quests with, like, you know, the one where you went into one of the vaults, and then it turns out, you know, people had mutated and things like that, and then there was, like, a lot of vegetation. So that's interesting. And you actually get some storyline stuff, and you find something interesting as you explore. But with Skyrim, it's all kind of for its own sake, because the story is boring and stupid. It's like, you're Dragonborn. It's like, okay, you know, you never really had a real attachment to characters in that game anyway, which is why Fallout 3 started off with you growing up to try and get you attached to the world and to understand it and to get attached to the character and your father. But in Skyrim, they don't do that. You're just almost about to die. Then there's a dragon, which is the most generic thing you can add to a fantasy game, and then you're off on your way. So it's really hard to get invested in that game, and then once you're not invested in a Bethesda game, you really see all the gameplay problems, how repetitive it is, and just how, you know, bland it is to play.
Are you happy now?
I am.
You need to release that.
I needed to get it out. I needed people, because I think I've slagged off Skyrim a couple of times. And then that's why, in that minute or so, that's why, if I ever criticize Skyrim, that's my reasoning behind it.
Right. I'll add a short version for you.
Okay.
Skyrim needs Liam Neeson.
He certainly does. Most things do.
Yeah.
Or just play as Liam Neeson. That would be pretty cool. Then you go take on Matt Perry.
Oh no.
Because he was in New Vegas, if you remember.
He was, wasn't he? Yeah.
That was really cool. That's what I'm excited about. If they announce a Fallout 4, I'm like, oh, what actor did they get for this game? They had Patrick Stewart, Liam Neeson, Matthew Perry.
Patrick Stewart?
Yeah, he was in Oblivion.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he was the Emperor at the beginning.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart's everywhere.
He's amazing.
Simpsons, extras. I think he did X-Men or whatever that is. I don't know, but Simpsons.
Simpsons, yeah. Stonecutters. Yep.
So they'll probably get someone else for that, but that'd be pretty cool. But okay, so yeah, and then the other game is Remember Me, which I don't know what that is, really.
Well, we're not going to remember that.
No, comedy right here. This is the good stuff.
Is that a way of making people laugh? Is that you just say, that's comedy, so that's like applause?
Yeah, it's like, because we can't have a laughter track in a podcast, we have to be like, yeah, you should laugh at that. That was really good stuff.
Comedy.
Whee!
There we go.
Maybe I should have a crowd button. That'd be pretty cool. Try and set that up. Get a big mixing decks.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, a big mixing thing that only has someone laughing and the gaming news thing. Spend $2,000 just for those two buttons.
Yeah, that Kickstarter really needs to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
One day we will do that Kickstarter.
Okay.
So that's recent releases, and we are going to do a topic this week, because next week I don't think we will, because of the big E3 stuff, so it's kind of, I want to get it done this week. So, again, if you have any suggestions, leave a comment below, you know, if anything you want for me to dissect, or Joe to slam, or whatever.
Yeah, wham,
yeah,
bam.
Take that. society.
No, we will like them. Please. Give
Sure, if you're really nice.
them.
But yeah, so this week it's Are Licensed Games Dead? So pretty much, in case you haven't noticed out there, or something I've recently noticed, is that licensed games are taking a big decline in the last few years, or during this generation. Now, they used to be big. Now, people always talk about the SNES and, Mega Drive, with the Aladdin game and Lion King and things like that being. They were both really good games, and they were both big successes, and there were other ones like it, and people enjoy them and still play them. But then, somewhere during the PS1 days... Well, actually, during the PS1, I think they still had some good ones. Toy Story 2, that was a good license game.
Oh, man, yeah.
That was a classic.
Yeah.
One that I personally liked was A Bug's Life on N64. I probably wouldn't like it as much now, because I used to really love insects as a kid, and I loved the film Bug's Life. So playing the N64 game, I was like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It was really hard.
GoldenEye?
Yeah, GoldenEye, a massive one,
There you go.
So people really liked that. So even during that time, they were successful games that sold well, and they were good. Now, I'm not saying anything new and different here by saying on the PS2 they took a massive nosedive in quality, where it was people would buy them because of the brand recognition, so they just released, they just gave it to some unknown developer, made them make it cheaply, and then just release it, and it sold a ton. But the thing is, right, the thing that why I'm bringing this up is because they still sold really well. They were still massive hits. If you take a look back at the last generation, or the PS2 generation, the Cars game sold a stupid amount. You probably didn't notice, Joe. You probably didn't pick up on the sales figures of the Cars game.
I love that game. No, not really.
Oh, man. Oh.
No.
But it sold a lot. It was a massive. It was like a mega hit. Kids brought them. Cars was a big film for some reason, and then everyone loved the game, even though it wasn't that great. But people brought it. It came out on all consoles, so they were still riding high. And then during the 360 times and PS3, for some reason they kind of started to slip away. Now, of course, you would have noticed this too, Joe, that both, and we already mentioned it, that the Simpsons games have disappeared. Where during the PS2 times you had hit and run, skateboarding, on the PS1 you had wrestling, things like that. And then also you probably would have noticed that the James Bond games have kind of disappeared. So, I think the question is, are they dead, or, how come? Why is it now that licensed games have finally started to disappear from the mainstream?
Okay. I've actually got an answer for this.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. It just came to me, an epiphany. A lot of it, I think, has to do with people or children are getting savvier at a younger age.
Sure.
They can, they have their own, they have their own phones, and they can use the internet, and they do whatever on Facebook and blah blah blah. And most licensed games are aimed for the younger audiences, I'd say.
Yeah, that's right.
And so back in especially going back to Super Nintendo and things like that, there was no real way of working out which games are going to be good and which games are going to be bad.
No.
And that kind of goes on until maybe around PS2. Like, the only way you'd really know is through magazines. Or some TV shows, if you had like a gaming TV show. But since the internet got a bit bigger, and then, gaming journalism in terms of IGN and things like that, and proper reviewing came out, and you could see even Let's Plays. We could even get Let's Plays into this.
Easily.
Because Let's Plays, you experience the game. People can now tell if a game's going to be rubbish. They didn't know that before. It was just, if you were a child, you go into a game store and you think, oh yeah, look, Toy Story, but Toy Story were good, but I say Toy Story. Toy Story game, that must be really cool. So you just buy it there and then. You take it home. It might be good, it might be bad. They didn't know, but now you can find out, you can work out, okay, that just looks really bad. I'm not even going to touch it. For example, the new Star Trek game.
Oh. Yeah.
You wouldn't touch that with a barge pole.
No. I've seen some footage, I've heard some things, read some reviews. Nowhere near that. But I kind of have to agree, because you can see that with all gaming, that people are now aware of if a game's bad and it won't sell. Just look at Dead Space 3. That game didn't get that good reviews. People didn't like the lack of focus on horror and that it moved to an action game. And it didn't get terrible reviews. It didn't get panned, but it wasn't hitting those 80%. It was more 70 kind of percent game. And it was a big franchise and people loved Dead Space 2 and it didn't sell well. It really did not move that many copies. It was kind of a bit of a flop because people didn't want it. People found out enough about the game that they were like, no, I'm not going to buy that. So of course when it comes to licensed games, that's going to apply tenfold. If a game is getting 40%,
yeah,
and even if it has the cute picture on the box, the kid might be like, get that, and then the dad's like, no, it's terrible. That's not what you want. You want the new Tomb Raider. It got good reviews. That's what you're playing.
What, so the little child can see Lara spike through the jewel?
Absolutely.
Yes.
He's got to learn.
Absolutely.
Got to learn that's life. On the island. Makes him watch Lost every day as well. He's a bit of a sick man, this dad.
He dies on purpose to show his children that.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to get lost out to sea to teach you a lesson. That's how this is going to go down. But yeah, so one big factor I think is in this is that, people are now more aware of it, so they need to make good games, but with how expensive gaming is, I think, because you both have to put a lot of money and invest a lot of time and money and all that kind of stuff to make a game good, but you also have to buy the license to the game as well, so it's kind of a bit hard to, I think, for a lot of companies nowadays, it's not, because, putting a character or having a license to it isn't a slam dunk anymore, you need to actually have a decent game behind it. I think they're just not willing to risk that. I don't kind of get why, with how much they invest in franchises that are already big, like video game franchises like Gears of War, Crysis, Dead Space, that came out this year. But it just seems like they just don't want to put in the money anymore, especially with HD gaming. And I think one thing you can something to back me up is that there was a Wreck-It Ralph game, but it only came out on the Wii, and was it the 3DS or the DS? I think it was
the 3DS.
Yeah, I think it was the 3DS, and obviously that was because people were casual market, they could just make it cheap because it was on the Wii, and the 3DS probably isn't too expensive to make for, and they could just throw it out there and they'll probably make their money back because people are going to buy it and it was cheap to make. So, in that scenario, that formula works, and that formula that they had back in the PS2 days worked. But with HD gaming, with Xbox One and PS4, you just can't invest the money if you're not going to think you're going to get your money back.
No. On the older consoles, on PS2 and PS1, all it took was really, you get the character, you put them into some kind of platformy level, you throw in a few power-ups and a few collectibles, and then you're done.
Yeah,
but you can't do that now.
You just take Super Mario World, add in a new skin, put the genie in it, and you got a game, and people are going to buy it.
Exactly, but it takes more than that now. People aren't as foolish.
But yeah, because I like licensed games. I'll be honest, maybe it's a stupid thing, but there really is a charm to playing a game based on something you've seen at the cinema. I know I shouldn't be like that because I'm 21, but there really is. It's really cool to go home and be like, hey, I'm Woody, way. So, that charm is still there, and you can still capitalise on it, but, I guess it's too risky nowadays, and, to look at the question, are licensed games dead? The answer is no, but because, you still got Star Wars games, and licensed games, that's a really vague term.
Yeah.
But I think, in terms of being mainstream, you really do have to have so much behind a franchise for someone to put money behind it that, just one film isn't enough anymore.
The way I kind of pictured this is that, and we're going to go on a little bit of a tangent, is I'm sure you've seen Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yes.
Sure, a lot of people have. It's very, very, very popular, very good. But a lot of his reviews, a very, very high percentage of reviews, are all games based on films or television shows. Like, that's what you see a lot of the time. It's like Terminator or
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Exactly. And there's nowhere near that level anymore. At all.
Well, do you
So-
think maybe it's not laziness, but the opposite, where video games have become so legitimate that they don't need to rely on films and TV shows anymore?
Gonna turn it upside down, flip it
Yeah,
around.
Going to give them a boost. Activision and EA. Maybe they're not terrible, but yeah, I guess that's probably is a big part of it because back in the day with the NES, how are you meant to come up with an idea for that with that console? It's like, let's just make a helicopter game and shoot at the desert, I guess, and that'll be it. So all you really needed was like a skin and characters, so it was
Yeah.
easy to just say, pick DuckTales, make a game out of it, and boom, there we go. But nowadays, it's kind of, people want a interesting world, and video games have become, I don't know, an art form, I guess. So they're become their own thing that's independent.
What about Walking Dead? How did you find those?
Which one?
Well, I've watched a playthrough of the point
Telltale?
and click, yeah, and that was good. But what about the newer one? Survival one?
Well, I did review it.
You did?
I liked it. I think it was really rough around the edges. You could see they were kind of rushed, or there wasn't enough experience and money behind it. But I did like, there was enough potential, and they did it in a way I liked it, or handled the whole zombie thing in a clever enough way where, it has problems, but you can still get enjoyment out of it.
So that licensed game got a thumbs up.
Yes, even though it got less than 40%. I think it got like 38 on Metacritic. So, I mean...
Go watch his review as well.
Yeah, it's quite wonderful. And also watch my new Quantum of Solace review that came up today, although this is going up later, so not today. But if I'm going to go off on a tangent, Joe, what happened with the Quantum of Solace game? What happened with that?
What happened with it?
Why is it terrible? Why is it so bad?
I warned you.
I'm very upset.
I warned you that it would be terrible.
It's Treyarch. It's
Yeah.
the same company that made Spider-Man 2 and World
Oh.
at War with the exact same engine on the exact same console in the same year.
And yet, why does it look so ugly?
I don't
Why?
know. I don't know. Is there something about Daniel Craig's face?
They cannot make him look anything apart from like a waxwork.
Yeah, like some sort of robot thing that's pretending to be human. It's really weird. And then M. Oh my god.
Nightmare fuel.
It's so terrifying, but because that it all comes around. That goes back to a point about games being terrible. Like with the James Bond franchise, the last few games were absolutely awful and people didn't like them. So now the franchise is potentially dead. So I mean, I guess that's what it comes down to. If you make bad games come out in that franchise, people don't like them, then the franchise just disappears, whether or not the franchise is still big in like film, say, like with James Bond.
Yeah. I can't believe they still haven't made a good James Bond game.
Well, they have.
Oh no, recently.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the example I like to stick to is the GoldenEye remake, which was actually really good.
Was it?
Yeah, I would recommend getting it, the 360 version anyway, because it was mostly stealth, and it handled it in the same way the original GoldenEye handled it. So it wasn't, most of the levels were not like the original levels, but they were designed like they were. Like it's one-on-one kind of stuff. But then it's got the right blend of, Call of Duty sort of action that it actually does kind of work. And I really did like it.
Okay, I'll rephrase my question. Why can't they make a Roger Moore James Bond film?
That's what we
game?
want.
That is what we want.
They've done Sean Connery from Russia with Love. They did Timothy Dalton, if you go back.
Did they? Oh, I suppose, yeah.
There was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
Master
yeah.
System game.
There was, yeah.
Oh, what was it called?
Living Daylights or something.
No, it was like... I think it's called The Jewel. It was
okay.
an original title, and it was like the first original one for James Bond.
Oh, cool.
So you got the Timothy Dalton, and then Pierce Brosnan, he's everywhere. And then Daniel Craig as well, so I guess George Lazenby needs one as well. Maybe Roger Moore and George Lazenby team up to take on, I don't know, Robot Hitler or something cool like that.
Yeah. Oh, no, it has to be Russian, I guess.
Oh, Stalin.
Robo Stalin. There you go.
Or Robo Lenin, make it kind of offensive to the Russian people at least.
Yes.
That's what James Bond is all about.
Yep.
That's what we're here for. But So yeah, so pretty much when it comes to the licensed games, it's like, yeah, they're not dead, but it's like with Star Wars is kind of going to be bigger than ever. And it's weird how they keep making Lord of the Rings games. Like, why hasn't that died already?
Have they made a Hobbit game?
No.
Oh, that's weird.
There was like they keep making them. Like there was Battle of Middle-earth. There was this Wii game called Aragon's Quest. And they still keep making Lord of the Rings games. It's really confusing. The last film was 2003. And with The Hobbit coming out, you would think they would just make a Hobbit one. Although they made a Hobbit game when Lord of the Rings came out on GameCube and Xbox, and I think PS2. So it's definitely very confusing the way these licenses are handled. And I think a lot of it comes down to individual companies. But yeah, overall, if Activision aren't willing, or if EA aren't willing to invest money and time into the Simpsons game, The Simpsons being one of the biggest TV shows of all time that appeals to kids and everyone else, then yeah, licensed games they're in trouble. Although one thing I'm hoping for with E3 is that they do announce a new James Bond game.
Really? Do you think they would do that?
I think they could. I think I don't think it'd be that crazy if they did, because 007 Legends didn't do well, so Eurocom are dead, but they probably. The only way they would announce a new one is if they had another company making another James Bond game, you know, when 007 Legends came out, which sounds very likely, I would say, with the way they handled the James Bond franchise, like with Quantum of Solace, had 4 different developers, maybe 3. So it's possible. I would really like to see it, but...
Yeah, I'd really like to see one with an original story, not tied to a film like... well, no, I suppose Skyfall didn't really have its own one. It was the end level, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was a hoot. They were the worst levels, by the way. Like, easily the worst levels. You only did up to, like, half an hour in the film, and then it just ends. And
that's like the boring bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not right. Yeah, you take out the assassin guy in the cool psychedelic light thing, and then the game just ends. And that's it. It's like,
what place to stop.
Thanks for playing. It's awesome. Oh, I hate that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, so I think ending statements, I think I've already made it, but we keep talking about James Bond. But
sorry. Yeah.
It's got to be done. But how many people on YouTube are still talking about James Bond games?
Exactly.
I pride this podcast in that we keep the idea of a good James Bond game alive.
And also The Simpsons as well.
Also The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Throw them in there. I keep reviewing James Bond games for a reason. I'm going to find that good one.
Subtle hints.
Yeah, I'm going to keep going until I eventually give up and play The World Is Not Enough, because that one's meant to be good.
It's not enough. I remember Everything or Nothing. Don't remember The World Is Not Enough.
It was N64 and Eurocom actually made that one. That was the first one they made.
Oh.
Is that an excited or like a concerned
When did it come out?
Well, it was on the N64, so it was 2000, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, I really need to check that one out. But
yeah.
But either way, I think it's time to end off this week. Covered a lot of good stuff.
I think that last discussion about licensed games has some point in there. You have to kind of find it yourself, I think. Yeah, there's lots of different things.
It's in there, pretty much. The main points, people are more aware of bad games, so you can't just make them cheaply and expect people to buy it. I would also say that kids don't play games as much as they used to, as in console games. Like, a kid is a lot happier playing, like, Peggle on an iPad than they are, say, saving up 40 quid for their birthday to get the new Cars 2 game. I think that's maybe another point that we didn't get to, but yeah, I would say that kids are just happier off with whatever, so whatever can be anything, and with how many different gaming things there are and all that, then you can just throw an iPhone in front of a kid and it's just as happy as if you went out and spent 200 quid on a console and a new game for him. Yeah.
Very nice point to add on to the end there.
Yeah, I know, I'm full of them, but we don't have
you dish them out slowly.
Yeah, I'm blessed, and I like to bless the people listening with my knowledge. So,
is this now some sermon? It sounds like we're getting religious.
It has become very egotistical towards the end here, praising me and my name. But anyway, let's end off before I praise myself anymore. So yeah, thanks for being here as always, Mr. Likable.
Thank you. Can you splice in something for me
Go
so
on.
I sound really funny?
Okay.
Okay. When we were talking about Robo Hitler and Robo Stalin,
Always.
can you splice in me saying, "Oh, what about Robo Tojo?"
Ah,
There you go.
that's very smart.
There you go. Yeah, that's all I want to do. Yeah. Thank you for having me again.
I won't be doing that, but I will. I appreciate the joke, and I'm sure they will. They'll think about it when they re-listen to this. They'll know.
Okay.
They're like,
Good.
haha, Joe's a smart, funny guy. Good stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, nice. But so also quickly, next week I don't know what's going to happen. There might be 2 podcasts going up next week.
Crazy.
Yeah, because of it depends, because I might do a separate one on Nintendo, because I know you're not a big Nintendo guy, Joe, so I think I might do a separate one about Nintendo, and then me and you, Joe, will tackle the big Xbox One and PS4 stuff.
I've got some homework to do then.
Well, yeah, watch E3 and look at all the
Yeah.
cool games. That's the
Be
homework.
excited.
It's not.
That sounds like fun.
It's not mining. It's not. It's not write an essay. It's pray for a Battlefront 3.
No, Time Splits 4.
Time Splits full. That's
Okay.
what I meant.
Both. Simpsons. Okay.
Free
enough.
Radical. We are actually paid by Free Radical. That's why we mention them all the time, just
You
for the
haven't
record.
noticed by now.
Yeah,
Come
they
on.
do slip us a little bit of, a little check under the door for keeping their name alive and the games they were making. That's why we bring them up so much.
Yeah. Except for Hayes.
So,
Crap, I've ruined it. Damn.
well, they paid us not to mention Hayes.
Damn.
They were trying to. Well, I'm going to go deal with this. I'm going to make a couple of
Sorry.
calls. So, yeah, thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.